You feel you are losing strength, but you don't know exactly where. He feels that he is disconnected, unmotivated, trapped in an invisible cycle that drains his energy and steals his purpose. I'm Laert, and this is the Gods of Semen channel. Here you will find out what no one has ever told you about the spiritual, scientific, and psychological power of seminal retention. This is no longer a motivational video, it is a call, a turning point. Retention is not abstinence, it is domain, it's focus. It is the reconstruction of his true essence as a man. And if you have gotten here, it is no coincidence. It is because your soul is asking for transformation. Stay with me until the end of this video. What will be revealed can change your energy, your mind, and the course of your story. Subscribe now to the channel, activate the bell, and become part of this movement of men who chose to leave the matrix of pleasure and access the original code of the sacred masculine. Most men have learned to seek immediate relief as a solution to inner chaos. Ejaculation has become the most accessible and also the most destructive exhaust valve. When you ejaculate, you feel for a few seconds a chemical wave of relief. But what comes next? A strange tiredness, a slight sadness, a feeling that something was torn from inside you. This is the first indication that the reward is not real. It is an illusory truce. Short pleasure, long collapse. The body, over time, learns that this cycle is the new normal. You want, consume, ejaculate, and feel relief. But this relief is masking spiritual exhaustion that grows with each repetition. Its biology enters a self-destructive pattern where pleasure is synonymous with weakening. This breaks your vital energy, your motivation, and even your desire to build something big. Ejaculation becomes a collapse ritual disguised as pleasure. This silent cycle shapes your unconscious. You ejaculate, feel guilty, disconnect from your energy, and then repeat, seeking the false sense of control again. But all this is a prison that has no iron bars, but poorly resolved memories, emotional voids and traumas that continue to be fed each time you deliver your essence without conscience. This is the trap. You think you are having pleasure, when you are actually deepening a pain that has been accumulating inside you for years. It is the addiction of immediate relief that prevents you from accessing your total power, clarity, and vibrational domain. Because while you are satisfied with instinct, your spirit keeps shouting for healing, and you don't listen. Few men understand that semen carries more than just biological material. He keeps deep emotional codifications recorded from experiences, frustrations, and memories that the body has not yet been able to digest. Each time you ejaculate unconsciously, without retention, without presence, you are releasing more than vital energy. You are reactivating vibrational records linked to pain, abandonment, rejection, and loneliness. Emotional trauma that is not healed lodges in the man's energy field and begins to be fed as an invisible parasite. With each discharge, he finds a way to strengthen himself. You think you are relieving yourself, but you are actually diving deeper into a state of energy vulnerability. The pain does not disappear. It settles harder, silent, dense, camouflaged in chronic tiredness, apathy, insomnia, or that feeling of being broken inside, even when everything looks good. This process is slow, but devastating. You feel the loss of mood, the look is losing shine, the disposition is disappearing. And all this is attributed to normal, everyday problems. But it is not. It is the body trying to warn that there is an internal rupture happening, that the root of pain is being watered by every unconscious habit, especially those involving pleasure without presence, joy without purpose, relief without conscience. To ignore this is to continue carrying an emotional baggage that is no longer yours, but defines you. It is allowing the past to continue to dominate you by the only channel that the system knows that modern man does not resist: pleasure. And the price you pay, not only in the body, it appears in the soul, in the brightness that disappears, in the force that weakens, in the spiritual connection that breaks without explanation. What you call pleasure can actually be a deep escape mechanism. Many men do not masturbate by desire, masturbate by pain. They do not ejaculate by horny, ejaculate by need, for fear, for anxiety that cannot name. Sexual addiction is only the surface. Behind it is a muffled scream of the soul, a desperate attempt to silence a pain that has never been faced. Pleasure becomes anesthesia, and masturbation, in many cases, becomes an unconscious form of emotional self-mutilation. You use pleasure as an invisible cut, alleviates it on time, bleed later. Each relapse comes with a denser inner silence, as if your soul shouted for help and you ignore it with the next browser tab. With each cycle of empty pleasure, you deeper sink into the swamp of disconnect. And it is in this cycle that man is getting lost. He does not realize that he is erasing his own spiritual spark on behalf of dopamine seconds. He begins to distrust himself, not to rely on his own strength, to doubt his own ability to resist. Because addiction is not only physical, it is symbolic. It represents how much you cannot stand to be with yourself. And that is what destroys your energy. Gradually, what gave you pleasure also begins to kill you. You feel the weakest body, the deeper look, the focus going away. You start living in survival mode. And all this while your soul still expects the moment you will stop, look inside, and ask, why do I keep feeding something that empties me? At that moment, the awakening begins, because the liberation of sexual energy is not against pleasure. It is in favor of its truth. And it starts when you decide to hear the scream you have been trying to shut up for years. The greatest saboteur of his vital energy is not society, neither women nor pornography. And you. The programming you have received since adolescence has shaped a trained brain for fast addictions and empty gratules. Each time you give in to the impulse, you are not just repeating a habit. You are confirming a lie that told you that you are too weak to master your own body. You feel that there is something more within you, a sleeping force, an ancestral spiritual code waiting to be activated. The book, Alchemy of the Gods, is the map for this awakening. In this powerful spiritual guide, I reveal the secrets of Kundalini, crystalline oil, and male vibrational liberation. This is not just a book, it is a rite of passage. Through it, you will access millennial teachings capable of transforming your energy, your mind, and your life mission. Available now in 3 formats: physical, digital, and audiobook, so you choose how to absorb this wisdom where and when you want. Visit now by the link in the description or comment fixed. But first of all, I have a novelty that you didn't expect. If you are committed to your evolution, you need to hear the Semen Retention Success Path, an audiobook with more than 2 hours of deep content about the 6 essential pillars of seminal retention. This is the full way to unlock your male vital energy, restore mental focus, broaden your personal magnetism, and align your life with the superior purpose that the system tried to erase from you. What's more, when purchasing audiobook today, you get 30% off the Art of Semen Retention for Men ebook, a direct manual with 20 pages of advanced techniques for spiritual evolution, emotional balance, and personal domain. And if you want to go further, become a member of the Gods of Semen channel. Members have access to early content, priority responses in the comments, and exclusive benefits. His participation keeps this project alive and helps this knowledge reach other men who are lost and thirsty for truth. Click the link now. Your rebirth begins with a choice. The brain, conditioned early on, seeks the same way to escape whenever something squeezes inside. Discomfort, boredom, anxiety, or sadness already automatically trigger the desire for sexual stimulation. The cycle repeats itself: stimulus, relief, guilt. But what hurts the most is not ejaculation itself, it is what it represents. It is confirmation for yourself that you have no control over what you feel or what you do. With each relapse, You look in the mirror with less conviction. Self-image collapses. Even if externally everything seems the same, you begin to move away from your dreams, your values, your goals. Because deep down, something inside you begins to believe that it is not worthy of great achievements. The guilt is undermining your faith, and the world around it responds to this vibration of self, abandon. And the most cruel, the trauma that was never healed begins to disguise themselves as thought. He becomes a voice inside your head, whispering that you will never make it, that you are dirty, weak, irrelevant. This voice doesn't come from outside. It comes from you that was hurt and learned to survive if hiding behind pleasure. But it's time to face it, because if you do not face the enemy that dwells inside, it will continue to drag you to the cycle that consumes your soul without you realizing it. Seminal retention is not the end of the war. It is the beginning of the rescue. When the noise of the world is silent and you stop running from yourself, something sacred begins to emerge from within. The healing of trauma, repressed pain, the addiction that chained you. It all starts when you decide not to react as before. When you feel the pain, but you don't run to easy relief. When you hold, when you retain. Transmutation is the most powerful spiritual process that a man can live. It is not just about holding back the semen, but of transforming the energy that sank you into a force that raises you. With each impulse contained, you reprogram your brain. With every temptation surpassed, you prove to your spirit that is no more slave to anything. And it is in this silence, without applause, without witnesses, that the true man is reborn. By consciously practicing retention, your mental field begins to clean. The fog that once prevented you from seeing your mission clearly begins to dissipate. You reconnect with your direction. Your words gain more weight. Your gaze becomes firmer. And your whole body vibrates differently. It is as if self-respect again occupied the throne inside you. Because the day you decide to stop feeding trauma is the day your soul breathes for the first time in a long time. At this point, you not only save your energy, you honor your story. You look at yourself with dignity. And finally, it understands that seminal retention is a pact with its highest self. A pact that liberates, heals, and transforms. A pact that returns to man his true form. Not that shaped by pain, but that forged by consciousness. There comes a time when what before it made you fall gets up. The same pain that pushed you into the escape now becomes the sign of power. The energy you lost in relapses is now the fuel of your reconstruction. Because when you stop fighting the pain and begin to integrate it, it becomes strength. Pain is no longer the end. It is the beginning of your ascension. The man who learns to retain even when all inside him asks to explode. This man is unlocking a level that few know. It is no longer driven by impulses. He dominates his own frequency. And that's why your presence begins to be perceived even before opening your mouth. It is the weight of concentrated energy, the light that springs from the dark he faced. Instead of silent by shame of your pain, you start to carry it as a medal of honor. Because she didn't break you, she forged you. And what was once weakness now becomes spiritual ammunition. Your journey begins to inspire effortlessly. Your story comes to teach speechless. And what was one day trauma becomes a seal of vibrational authority. You no longer need to pretend it doesn't hurt. You just need to show that despite the pain, you chose to continue. And this is what differentiates the weak from the chosen ones. The real retainer is not what never fell. It is what fell 1,000 times and yet decided to hold his energy when the whole world told him to let go. This is the turn, the point without return, where the past fails to define you, where the pain that held you begins to work in your favor, and you finally begin to live like the man who was born to be, whole, firm, silent, and untouchable. If you feel that something inside you are slowly erasing yourself, maybe it's because you are delivering your life force without realizing it. While the world distracts you with empty pleasures, the true male power is being drained in silence. This energy you waste is the same that could make you invincible, focused, respected. It's time to stop fleeing the pain and start using it as a fuel for its transformation. Royal, transmute, wake up. If this video spoke to you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and watch the next recommended content. It may be exactly what you needed to hear today.